All right, everybody. This is, I have no one in the room right now, but this is Rick Morgan, and I am interviewing John Papico. We haven't heard from him in a while, and I wanted to give John a chance to say hello and greet the audience again, and just talk about anything. I'm keeping this free form. John and I literally have nothing on the agenda to discuss, and I want to give him as much mic time as he can without you guys having to listen to me talk all the time. How you been, John?
Well, I'm alive, man.
Yeah.
That's enough for me. At this point, that's pretty much enough for me. Um, just living every day, as full as I can, and just you know trying to stay in a positive frame of mind, more or less.
Yeah, yeah, I know you've had some challenges, and I appreciate you having this interview, and hopefully, we can, talk about some fun things that interest you. What is there anything in particular you'd like to talk about, or you want me to just start asking questions?
Well, I'd like to dive in a little bit of what you and I sort of discussed for a short time before you had to go this afternoon, and that was our haters or the haters that are out there. Listen, I don't want to say I I used someone else's ideas and you used someone else's ideas and somebody else used somebody else's ideas or the way they do things or whatever. All I know is that I have been doing what I have been doing in trial and error since about 1988, maybe a little bit before that, but I'm fairly confident in saying 1988, 1989. I've ruined countless books practicing my craft. Um, and with any presser or cleaner that's in this industry and who does this for a living or as a hobby, if you get the right results from set individual, then by all means continue to use that individual. Um, I myself, when I started, there was no such thing as the internet. There was no such thing as a conference video call.
And no CGC, by the way.
Exactly. I mean, CGC wasn't a company, I believe, until 2000. And but regardless of that, um, when I first started pressing and cleaning comic books, I was cursed. They used to curse me out. You're going to ruin that book, boy. Now
Yeah.
it's an industry standard. Now I still have customers who prefer not to have their books pressed and cleaned, and I understand. That's why I don't press my wall books, because if one of those customers happens to walk into my store and say, I want that Hulk 105, and they ask me, did I press or clean it? I can confidently say no. And then 9 times out of 10, they will purchase it and they will either press and clean it themselves, or then they will ask me what I charge to do that. Now, so I don't have a chemical engineer. I don't have a master's degree in that. I don't have anything in that. I burnt my fingers when I first started using peroxide, like everyone else. I I,
Mhm.
I would venture to guess. Um, when I started using peroxide, I started using your household peroxide. I used bleach. I like I said, I ruined many, 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 many books. So I feel that this is being taken too far. I
Yeah,
really
I,
do.
I, I agree. I very much
Okay.
agree. Yeah.
We're all trying to get to the same place. We're trying to get perfection. We are also all of us are guilty of changing the natural course of things. And what I mean by that is the natural course of things means that when you bought a book in 1974 or 1964 or 1954, it should be rags. Because in these eras, there was no such thing as bags and boards. There was no such thing as any kind of protection for our comics. Some of us used freezer bags or saran wrap or whatever we had available, shoe boxes. So we are all guilty of involving ourselves in stopping the natural occurrence of a comic book, which is letting them turn to dust. So we're all guilty of that because we are all trying to stop that so that future generations can enjoy this hobby without going on a computer screen and digitally doing so. I miss the times when you see a father and his son walk into a comic book store and they have that camaraderie. Or I walk into a comic book store when I was a younger man or when I was a kid and talking to another fellow human being with common likenesses and a commonality. And we can have a debate. Who was a better villain? Who was a better superhero? What story arcs were good? Which ones sucked? That is seemingly going away of the dodo. And I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. There's too much telephone and and too much digital, and there's not enough of hands-on or face-to-face anymore. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I press and clean comic books. Me personally, I could care 2 cents about what somebody says that I stole. I ruined enough books before all this internet and mess to prove that I haven't stolen anything. And I don't need to steal anyone's ideas because their ideas are much different than my own. That's why when you watch my videos and your videos, Rick, I always say that these are my ways of doing this, and those ways might not necessarily be your way.
Yeah, I've heard you say that many times.
And you and I both know, as long as we have been doing this, all we are trying to do, we are not trying to prove anything. We have already proved it to ourselves years and years ago. What we are trying to do is further the education on how to keep your books ready for the next generations, for your sons and your daughters and my sons and my daughters and everyone else's children. So there's no reason for people to say I'm a better presser than you, or I'm a better cleaner than you, or you stole this, or I stole that. We're all getting to the same place.
Yeah,
That's what it boils down to. If we're going to be honest about it, let's be honest about it. That's what it comes down to. We are all trying to get to the same place, and that's to not restore a comic book. It's to take what's there and just make it better or like it was when we first got it.
Here's something I know. Tell me if you agree or disagree. Maybe some commenters can too. That most, like 95% of people in this are pretty cool, and they're good, happy people and generous and big heart and everything. And I've gotten some great gifts from people. I didn't even ask for it. I have no recognition, just sent me some cool comics, and they have huge hearts, right? But there's a certain element of tribalism I think that's sort of grown just in the last few years about like follow a certain camp of a presser or a cleaner and another one, and you've got these favorites and they're like enemies. And I think what I've noticed is, especially since I travel a lot, I go to talk to a lot of comic book shows, and people sometimes comic book stores, and people sometimes recognize me and they talk to me. And they say, "What about this or that or who's better?" I don't really know. I always advertise myself as a student of pressing and cleaning. So I always, it's I call myself. But what I've noticed is that some people, for years, have a secret thing, right? Some secret thing way that they do of cleaning or pressing that they don't tell anyone, and it's a secret, super secret thing. And they're like an expert, and people come to them on Reddit or on Instagram or whatever for advice, and it's the super special guy that knows something. When that super special guy is asked a question about, hey, what about this person doing X or Y? And what about that? That person has two choices now. That person can either say, if they don't know about what's happening, they can either say, I don't know, and I'll find out about it, or I'll ask them and I'll learn and then I'll find out. But that's a threat to the level of expertise that they project, right? Or they can say, that guy's full of crap and he also stole the ideas from so and so. That's another way to go, right? You can choose one of those two ways. And so some small fraction of people have chosen this other way, and that's how they do it. But we're going to run into those people in any business at all. Not surprising that it appeared here too, but that's how I feel about it. What do you feel?
Look,
Or any commenters feel?
yeah, I mean, I have to look at it this way. There is enough crap in the world to at least bother me with someone's bantering about that I stole this from them or I'm not doing something right. I mean, I have bigger fish to fry. You know what I mean? To even concern myself. Now, I'm egotistical and I'm confident, but it comes with, I just reached my 32nd year of pressing and cleaning comics. I had a guy kick me off his stream because he's been pressing and cleaning comics for 6 years and claims he's the best at it. And he has a Facebook page with all the best pressers and cleaners on that page. And I'm thinking to myself, and I mentioned that to you, Rick, about that.
Yeah.
To me, he's not even getting started yet.
Oh, just learning how to ride a bike when you got started, right? Yeah.
You know what's the funniest with me, and I'll be straight up with you. If the CGC was the best presser and cleaner of comic books, then everyone would use it. If I was the best presser and cleaner of comic books, then everyone would use me. If you, Immaculate Comics, was the best presser and cleaner of comic books, then everyone would use you. The problem with thinking that you're the best, everything changes on a daily basis. Yes, you do see the same thing over and over and over. I don't know how many Hulk 181s that you have pressed and cleaned. I pressed probably, like probably 2,000. But the whole thing is that, and you said this many times to me, and it's something I always remember. We have gotten to the same place in how we do things. We just took different directions on how to get there. You from more of an educated scientific point, and me from just brutal trial and error, not knowing what chemicals would really do to newspaper print or what it's going to do to color when you start doing this when you're 18 years old or 17 years old or whenever you started on your journey. How things were going to react to daylight or sunlight. You know what I mean? Especially for someone like me who don't have that kind of engineering degree. But the whole thing is that I enjoy what I did. I retired for a little while because I got, raise people's grades. I took a giant size X-Men #1, took it from a 5.0 to an 8.5, or no, I'm sorry, not an 8.5, a 9. And the guy had the nerve to stand there right in front of me and complain that he thought I was going to be able to get it a miracle. You know, I've taken other giant size X-Men #1s and took him from 4.5 or 5.0s to 8.0s to 8.5s. You know, giant size X-Men #1 is one of the easiest books to crack and clean and press and resubmit. The reason is because it has the acid is right in the middle of that cover. All that color is right in the middle. I have not seen a bright white giant size X-Men #1 ever. After, you know, now I'm not talking about when they were new. I'm talking about since I've cracked and been pressing them. It's always yellow on the cover. Mm-hmm. It's always yellow. And I saw a 9.8 that was, it had a good looking spine. The bottom was a little crushed. I did not agree with the grade of the 9.8, but the cover was yellow. Now, I've taken that cover and made it white. I had somebody else come to me and say, or on the thing bragging about that they use the best presser on the planet. To them, this guy is a holy grail when it comes to pressing books. And the guy sent me pictures of an ASM 50 that the guy had pressed and cleaned. The cover looked spectacular. The red popped, nice and glossy, shiny. But when he turned the book over, the book was yellowed on the back, and it had spine ticks that were still there on the back of the book. And I sent the gentleman a message and I said, how can you claim this guy to be the best presser when there's still visible spine ticks on the back of this book? And I went on that channel, Rick. I'm not going to say anything, no names, no nothing, because I don't do stuff like that. I happen to be a non-telephone tough guy.
You're an actual tough guy, right?
Yeah, I'll say it to your face. But so I'm not going to mention anything like that. But I went and saw some of those books, and on a simple press, or what he considered to be a simple press or a press, there were still spine ticks all over those books, front and back. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, not a press doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best result. You and I both use what's called a hand iron, or I call it a sealing tool. I don't know what you call it, but you know, the little iron, you know, I call it a sealing tool. When spine ticks have been in a book for 40 years, they tend to, you know, the paper fiber themselves are set to that line. And it takes a little bit more to pull it out than just a press. So I don't know, man. I really wish that the pressers and the cleaners of this world would come together and just help each other, because we're all trying to get to the same place, you know, and that's to make the books last. It doesn't matter who's the best and who, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I'm really good at what I do, but I'm good at what I do. And therefore, I don't tell Rick Morgan what he should do. I don't tell Jitterbug what he should do. I don't tell anybody what they should do. Right? I just, right. I do it the way I want to do it. And I won't be happy until I think that I pretend that that's my book. So therefore, if it's my book, I'm going to do it the best of my ability until there is nothing else that can be done to that book to make it better. And then I'm going to give that book back to the customer. So
You can't
You
even
know,
really teach people, John. I've been trying to teach people to do it. Like in online videos, there's a lot that I'm starting to recognize that I do that I don't think about, and it doesn't come across in the video. And also, I've tried to teach people in person, and man, a lot of times they'll fight you. They'll like tell you like while you're
I had a
teaching
guy
them.
drop out. I had a guy drop out. He said the way he did it was better on modern age books because he watched a YouTube video that says you can press a modern age book in 5 seconds. 5 seconds. So he prefers to do that. And this same gentleman who fought me and dropped out of my class has called me about 50 times on how to press a modern age book. His 5 second is not working. You know,
Yeah,
when
of
they're
course.
really wavy and all of that, you know, that the 5 second rule is it's not justified. You know, I watched the same video. I tried it on a bullcrap book, on a bullcrap modern age book. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's still wavy. You know what I mean? I'll put it in there, 900 seconds, 125 degrees. I do it twice. Turn the machine off, turn it right back on. Don't touch it. I'll leave it in the cold press. I'll leave it come down to ambient temperature, leave it in that cold press for 3-4 days. I don't care. I'm not in no hurry. I'll take that book out. That book is flat as a pancake, not crushed. There is a difference between flat and crushed. I don't crush my books. They are nice and flat. When I have the CGC guys, some of them come to my store and they're looking at books. The first thing they look at is the flatness of the book. Is it open? They turn it on its side and they look at it to see how flat it is. They'll see if it's crushed. How do you know you add too much pressure to your press? Easy. The staples end up going inside the book a little bit. That's how you know you did too much pressure on your press. You know what I mean? That's a little
You'll
secret.
pop a staple too, you know.
Exactly. But that's a
Like,
little tidbit that new people who are trying this, they don't know that. They think, well, they can drop the hammer on their press and it's a little bit of a struggle to get the hammer to fall, to get it that they think crushing it is the way to go, and it's not. You know, there's a line there between crushing and just flattening. You know, I always used. I don't know, man. Rick, it's just getting tougher, brother. People are.
I know, man.
It just seems like there's more hate, or haters, I should say, for the industry and the people in it who have been doing it for a long time than there is for people to close their mouth, open their eyes, and learn from the people who did the trial and error, who they don't need to fight. They don't need to take a stand. They don't need to start an argument, because every argument that you can start, we argued with ourselves as we were ruining books.
Or
When I
you
was
called
ruining,
me, like you and I had a lot of discussions about the right way to do things. And we had constructive criticism. Like we helped each other get where we were going instead of fighting over stuff, right?
there's no need. There's no need. There's no need for animosity. There really isn't. We're getting away from the point. The point is we're all trying to get to the same, we're all trying to get on the playing field, right? And we're all jockeying for the same position. That's to be the starting pitcher or the first batter. And there's plenty of baseball fields out there for everyone to be a pitcher or a batter or both. It doesn't matter. We're getting away from the point. And the point is to help one another so that we can pass this knowledge down or pay it forward to those who are willing to learn, who are willing to understand and who are willing not to take a shortcut, because I don't take any shortcuts, because I feel that you're not only cheating the book, but you're cheating yourself. Why make all the mistakes in the beginning if you're just going to continue to follow those same mistakes now, these many years later?
It's people are chasing money, John. I think whenever you start involving money, there people's prides too in money, I think you're going to see some animosity. I believe I have always I started this. When I started doing this, I did some really dumb things, really stupid things. Now that looking back, for a long time before there was a community, it was just me. But I had the benefit of working in a paper mill in Albany, Oregon, for 2 summers, and I had a uh, burst strength tester. I tested grain paper sizes. I did puncture tests. I had learned I learned how paper was made and how to test paper when I was loving comic books a lot. It was a huge benefit to me to understand that. And then I grew up just doing this by myself. And to this day, I still haven't really explored a lot of what other great pressers do unless they come out and tell me. I just sort of having fun doing experiment. For me, experimenting and learning how to do it is the point. That's the fun part. And if I can do it on my own books, that's great. I've sold like 5 books in my whole life. I don't ever sell comic book. I've given away a lot, as you know.
Yeah.
And I do not sell them. I don't sent some into CGC, but only as experiments. I don't do it to have them graded to sell them. I just like farting around in the lab and I have a good time. And that's my goal. And I'm happy to share all that information. Immaculate Comics exists only because some people saw my videos and said, hey, what's that tool? How can I get that? And then I started offering it. And believe me, it's not worth the amount of work that I put into it, my kids and my wife put into it. It's not worth pain in the ass for people, talking crap about us. I can tell you that much.
There is no dollar amount that you can place on 30. No, for me, for instance, the dollar amount that I make doing a simple press on a book, which, is just me adding the humidity to the book and pressing the book. I charge $15 for that. Now, 32 years experience, and I charge $15 a book. I have people come in and says, man, some guy charged me $150 to press this book and it don't look like he did a dang thing. So you hear it all. I've seen it. I've heard it. I've done it.
I don't even charge. I don't even charge any money. I only do it for free. That's it.
Well,
so it's not worth the money for me.
If someone buys a book from my store and it's $50 or more, I will press it for them for nothing. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I don't press my wall books. So if I look at that customer and say, well, if you buy that $50 book that they're looking at, I say, I'll press that for you for free. And the first question always they ask is, well, how much do you normally charge to do that? I said $15. So they automatically say, yeah, go ahead and press it. You know what I mean? And then when they get the book back, I sold it to them at a 7.5, and now it's a 9. You know what I mean? So I lost money on the grade bump. You know what I mean? Selling it raw. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Now I charge more if I have to add chemicals to it because it takes me more time, but I don't charge that much. I think the most expensive that I have ever charged anyone for a book was on a giant size X-Men #1. I cracked it, cleaned it, repressed it, resubmitted it. I think I charged them $50. And they went from a 5.0 to a 9.0. And they had the nerve to stand there in front of me and complain that I didn't get them like a 9.2 or a 9.8. I don't know what they were expecting from a 5.0. I think it was a 5.0, from a 5.0 to a 9.0. I don't know what they were expecting, but I mean, I can do some miracles to books, but man, I'm not a miracle worker. I ain't got a bunch of elves running around, hooking a brother up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I got a guy's Tales of Suspense 39 that got a 2-point grade bump recently and did it for
nice,
free. You know, he was
nice.
pretty happy with that. Hey,
Well,
John,
you
two
do it
people have asked
because
me.
you're still doing that little bit of you're still working with stuff. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah,
trying to. I think what you're trying to do, honestly, on some of your stuff is you're trying to beat yourself.
yeah, I asked
You're
for the
trying to
hardest books possible, right?
you know what I mean. You keep trying to raise the bar for yourself. You're like, well, crap, man. I've done this book already a couple of times, and I've got it like a half a grade or a full grade. Now let's see if I do a little bit more this way and that way. What can I do now? And
And I asked
I
for
think,
harder and harder books. Yeah, I like, who's got gum? Who's got a booger for me? Like, what
yeah,
can I do?
exactly.
What's it do? Yeah. Hey,
We're
John,
both.
yeah,
Go
two people
ahead.
have asked me if you ask if you offer classes any longer, and if you offer cleaning services, and if so, how do people contact you?
I offer a class. I take one student every 14 weeks. That's how long the classes are. You have to be there in person. They're 14 weeks. In your 10th week, I buy you everything that you will need to succeed in pressing and cleaning. That includes Rick Morgan products, Immaculate Comic products, Immaculate Clean, chaffer boards, everything that I use, that's what you get in the box in the 10th week. You also get a Tussie press, which is all I use. I'm kind of spoiled that way, but it's my favorite press. I love it. The temperature stays really consistent, like it's supposed to, and I'm so used to the pressure. I don't use a template for square bound books. I know how many turns. I mean, I've used it so long. One of my first lessons is to unbox your press and get to know the machine in which you're working with. And I know that press like the back of my hand. And so it's like an extension of me. So,
What's your
um,
website or your can I is it Comic Book Underground?
well, they can contact me through the Comic Book Underground LLC. If you type that in on Google, it'll come up. The email address is on there. The phone number is on there.
I'm
Um,
gonna put it here in the chats.
yes, if there's a hater out there, um, please don't call and harass me. Um, seriously, in all honesty, I don't give a shit what state you're from. I am not a telephone tough guy. I am not. I will not engage with you at all. Um, my best advice to you would be to call me once, let me know that you don't agree with what I'm doing, and then don't call me again. Um, because believe it or not, man, this is a very small world in which we live. And I've met some people that came into my store that went to the same high school, the same junior high school that I went to, knew my family and knew me. And I live in Florida, and they're from my original state. So believe me, you never know who you can run into in this world. Um, my fighting days are over. My bouncing days are behind me. I just want to enjoy what I do. I'm sick. I just want to spend time with my family. Um, I have a major surgery coming up soon where I'm going to lose possibly my whole left foot. Um, Now my right foot is bad, um, but I'm not doing well, and I just want to enjoy what time I have left, um, healthy time, I should say, And I just want to leave the world in a better place, me personally, than when I arrived in it. And
Yeah, John, and we all love you, man. I hope you know that this is really a big family, and you and I are close, and I know you're going through tough times, and I want you to know that I love you like a brother. I really do.
yeah, I feel the same. And I just, if I had one message, and I do, being a confident, cocky, egotistical man, I do. And, being pretty big at 6'6", 245 pounds. But if I had one message that I would like to say to everyone is borrow the ideas when you can. Make them your own if you can. There is no such thing as theft of an idea. Someone can take, Rick, your idea or your invention and make it better. And then I would say if that happens, the best way to make it last is to communicate that change with you. And I always felt that was a better way. If you're going to take the martial arts and you have a better idea for an inside takedown than what you've seen, then bring it to who's ever teaching you, bring it to their attention and see what they say. If I take one of your experiments and I say, well, Rick, I think we should do this, or how about have you tried it this way? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm offering my opinion on an idea that you had. And hopefully, if you see the difference and you think, well, yeah, maybe it could work, and then you try it and it doesn't work for you, then so be it. But to sit there and call someone out and call them outside their name and call them a thief is is quite frankly, it's just elementary. This We are not in junior high school anymore. We're not even in high school anymore. We're not even in grade school anymore. This is the really real world. And if the world itself would share ideas and share alike and stop being so confrontational, the world, I believe, would be a better place, especially something as remedial as pressing and cleaning comic books when it has nothing to do with life. And let me tell you something. If any of you are going through the same hell in which health-wise that I am, believe me, pressing and cleaning a comic book or someone's opinion about what you do is redundant. It's ridiculous. It's elementary. It's beneath you. And the people who do it, Rick, I want you to take this in mind. The people who do this, who call you outside your name, who call out the jitterbug and say he's a POS and what he's doing is crap, that person is not human. They're not. They're a subspecies because to me, they are beneath me. And I won't give them the satisfaction and or the time of day to respond to them because to me, it's a waste of the precious time that I have in my life. It takes away from their life. Rick, it'll take away your life from your boy.
Yeah,
Because
I
while
feel
you're
that, and I
sitting
and I
there,
don't.
go ahead.
You know, I don't engage in any. I don't ever respond to anybody. I have kids who are handling some of my responses in my chats. And they're young people that look at some of the stuff I have, and I don't want them being exposed to it like at all. So there's no back and forth. There's no arguing or fighting. It's just done. Like anything that's really negative, or you call someone a name, it's just one and done. Like you're erased, you're banned for life, and it's just gone. Like it doesn't ever happen and you'll never hear me, even if I see somebody doing something, and I see it a lot, things that I don't agree with. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not even going to offer constructive criticism. If they reach out to me for help, I'll help them. And you'll never, ever hear me talk smack about another cleaner oppressor ever. It will never happen. I only have
Why?
good feelings and vibes for everybody.
Yeah, but what's the sense in it? We all got to this, like you say many times to me, we've all got to the same place. We just got there differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listen, there's only so many ways you can clean a comic book. There's only so many ways you can press a comic book. There's only so much humidity you can add to a comic book. There's only so many ways that you can remove and replace staples. You know what I'm saying? There's not that many options. So you have to master the options in which you find yourself being comfortable using. And that's what I have done. And that's why I state that these are my ways and they might not necessarily work for you. You know what I mean? So, I just think it's stupid. I really do. It's ridiculous. It's God dog, man. It really is ridiculous. After the conversation that you and I had this afternoon, I laughed. I'm like, I walked outside the front door of my comic book store and I started laughing out loud. I'm like, really? There are people out there that are taking this so seriously that the mere mention caused their panties to be in a bunch.
I know.
Here's so ridiculous.
Here's a funny thing, right? Like for me, I wake up and I've got like my nanotech research job stuff, and I've got and I'm teaching my classes, and I'm working on remedial waste for infectious waste from Africa, and I've got other big problems to do, right? And somebody else who thinks that pressing funny books is like right up there on the most important things I do, look, dude, you need to come at me a whole different angle if you want to insult me, because this is way down the list of stuff that was really like useful wages of my time, right? It's super close to the bottom. It's like food, water, shelter, family, 85 other things, and then this is just above like getting to the supermarket on Sunday,
Yeah.
It's like I don't really give a shit, about other stuff. So it's just funny.
Opinions.
There's a lot of people whose
opinions are like buttholes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Opinions are like
right.
Opinions are like buttholes, man. Everybody's got one.
At least one. But I was going to say, John,
go ahead.
We're going to wrap this up in about 7 minutes here, I think, or so. But I wanted to ask, since I know personally that you have watched my videos and I've watched all of yours, and you've improved a lot of my things, right? So you said you have really improved things like that I've done in ways I haven't even thought of before. Is there anything you'd like to in the, since we're talking about sharing stuff, is there anything you've come up with yourself that you think no one else does or has that you'd like to share with the community, add while you're here?
Well, I mentioned one to you, which is the solvent that I'm still in trial and error with it. With the peroxide mix with the ImmacuClean through steam. The problem was the ImmacuClean bubbling because it's a hand soap that doesn't clean your hands. Now that I've got the mix proper, I don't get the bubbles or the foaming. One thing I will tell you, one thing that I did do is that I did work on was I didn't like my steamer. I bought the Amazon steamer. It's blue and white. It's got the turn lid.
Yeah. The pure
I didn't like it. Yeah, I didn't like it because you fill it up to that line, but the water bubbles and then it ends up coming out of the holes. Some of it, sometimes it bubbles out. Now, if you're not paying attention and one of those droplets of water hits the book and you don't see it and you press your book, then when you take it out of the press, you're going to have a water stain there. So what I did is I cut a piece of cheesecloth, and when you remove it, there's a round cylinder. I don't know, it's probably like 2.5 by 2.5, and it's got a lip. I took a piece of cheesecloth and cut it, and I stuck it up in there, and then I put it back down. This way, the cheesecloth only lets the steam through, and the water hits the cheesecloth and drops back into the steamer. And I have had zero drops of water or spitting action, mind the language, the spitting action coming through those holes. So that's one thing that I did. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm still learning. I mean, I used an old steam iron that you do your clothes with. You steam the book, put, a baking sheet over it, and then go over it with the iron. That's how I used to press my books back in the day. So I that is a good idea. So any of you guys that have that blue steamer, that blue and white steamer from Amazon, just buy you a piece of cheesecloth, and you can double it up. It's not going to hurt, right? Because it's steam. It's going to come right through, but it's going to stop the water from spitting out through the holes. So, and I highly recommend doing that. That's something that I've been working with for a while now. Rick, I will send you the mixture of the 50, the 40, and the ImmacuClean mixture, and you can give it a shot. But run it through. Don't run it through the steamer that you have now unless you put some cheesecloth in there, okay? Because you're using, I believe, the same steamers that I have.
Yeah.
And so try the cheesecloth inside there, and then but they sell another steamer. It looks like one of them old vacuums. It's the tank vacuum with the hose. Mm-hmm. So they sell one of those steamer, and the hose, the moisture builds up in the hose and it just goes right back into the tank. So by the time the steam comes out, the water's down here somewhere. So you don't have to worry about that one. And then what I do is I put that mixture that I made up in there, and then I steam it. And then I take a little bit of distilled water and wipe off the residue of everything. But it cleans. I mean, it really cleans just the mess out of the book, because it's the heat with the ImmacuClean, with the peroxide, and it's just, I think the heat is the key, though, honestly. You know what I mean? It's mixing all that together, melding it better with the heat, and then when it comes out, it's just so pure, like in a mist, and it really gets down into that paper fiber. And even a book that I have cleaned thoroughly, where I take a white makeup pad and I can go like this and there's nothing. You turn it over and you see nothing. And I use this new, and you put those books side by side. This new version that I'm doing looks better than the version that I've done before. Okay. So I think it's for me, it makes everything look better, makes it look a lot cleaner. But yeah, that's about all I got. And when I finish that, and I get it to where I'm happy with it and the way it works, I will share it with you, and you can share it to the world if something were to happen to me, and that will be my legacy, I guess.
Yeah, I'll absolutely do that, John. So we're at 10 minutes to go, so I wanted to open it up for questions. If anybody has questions that they want to ask either you or me, and I'm hoping to ask you more than me, because I think people are tired of listening to me blab and talk about myself all the time. So who has a question for Big John? Who would like to ask something? Anybody got something?
Please don't ask me about Michigan. I am wearing my alma mater on my chest, but just everybody, Saturday at 4 o'clock, everybody root for Michigan because I don't know about TCU. I mean, how can you win being a horned frog? Come on, you know. No,
That's
I'm
funny.
just kidding. All you TCU fans, I'm just kidding. I bleed maize and blue, so I gotta represent.
There
Okay,
you go.
Rick, if you got questions, brother, you're gonna have to read them to me because I can't read them. I don't have my
Yeah,
old I don't have my old man spectacles on like you do.
yeah, no kidding. I'm getting worse. I don't have any questions yet, but I will tell you, I'm on my 19th trip to Texas this year. I have
Wow.
been to Atlanta, Florida, South Carolina, California, Oregon, Alaska, Hawaii, Eritrea, Djibouti,
When were you in Florida?
Nigeria, Ethiopia. I was in Florida just about 3 months ago, briefly, but not near where you are. I was up north near the Georgia border area for some CDC
Oh,
stuff
okay.
recently. And then I've been to, let's see, Germany and Scotland twice, England twice this year. So I've got a lot of traveling. So it's hard for me to get videos made. It really is hard to keep up on the cleaning and pressing stuff when you're traveling.
Plus
But the
the
great
time
thing
the
is,
time changes.
dude, I've lost sense. I've lost sense of time zones at all. I don't even really recognize it. One great thing is every place I've been to, with the exception of like some of the northeastern African countries, has comic book stores. And I get to step in and ask them. And if I tell them what I do, I introduce myself. And sometimes they recognize me. They have to, I mean, sometimes once I start talking, it takes a minute. And they all have something that they do. Every little place that's a little different. And I pick up a little tidbit of knowledge. So here's one that's a comment. Bob says, as I said, John's blue light homemade thing inspired me a while back. But then Rick made his light boxes. John, he says, John, are you still blue lighting with your own box?
Yes, I created my own box. My box is a lot different from yours, Rick.
Yeah.
I use I use I don't use the grid like you have, Rick, and yours.
Right.
And I don't use like a tote type thing. I use a wooden box that I made, and instead of putting in mirrors and being all fancy schmancy, I used what's called bare metal foil, which I'm quite familiar with back in my model car days when I built model cars. Bare metal foil, if for those of you that don't know, is twice as thin as aluminum foil with a sticky side. And I buy the bright silver and I line that in the box. So it's reflective all the way around. So that's what I did. And it works perfect for me. It works like a champ. I'm used to it. And the reflective properties of bare metal foil is just unbelievable, especially if you can
That's
get it
great.
to lay flat. You know what I mean? With no wrinkles. It's like basically silver mirror, so it works really, really well. Also, I used what's called a drawer technique, like when you open and close a drawer, right? So mine, you can actually slide out like a drawer. You put the book
Hmm.
on and then you slide it back in. And then my door is hinged, so I can just drop the door and there's a piece of bare metal foil in there. So everything is surrounded in bare metal foil. I can pull the book out, slide it back in, and it makes it a lot easier for me. You know what I mean? Um, I like yours, Rick. I wanted you, when you completed it and mastered it, I wanted you to send me one, um, because I would probably use it because mine only fits one book at a time. Yours looks big enough. You could probably do like two or three, maybe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Um,
I'm always out. Once I get some that I can do, I'll send you one, but I'm always backward. The problem is I get the plastic from Italy and it's vapor deposited on the back of acrylic, and then I have to paint it and let the paint dry so I can laser cut it. Or otherwise a laser bounces right off the silver,
oh yeah. And then
And so
the other thing,
it's hard to make.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, that's what you always seem like when you made your staple removal tools. Like I showed you what I use clay modeling tools. They're plastic, so I don't
Yeah.
scratch staples and stuff like that. So we were getting to the same place again, just different ways of doing it. But
As always.
because I use yours now. You know what I mean? And I'm sure when we both started, we opened up some holes. You know what I mean?
Oh
Where you
yeah,
could just
man.
you could just pull the page right off. You know what I mean? The hole just widened a little bit more than it was supposed to. But
It's
hey,
not even that. It's now they look for scratches on staples. Like CGC is now like someone brought it to my attention. They said, "Oh, there's a scratches on this. It looks like the staple's been removed." I think in their case it hadn't been done, but
yeah,
just because they pressed it open, and
I had
so
a
we have to
call.
not scratch a staple.
I had a call from them, CGC, and they asked me on a ASM 41. They asked me if I replaced the
Mm.
staple. They're both staples, and I said no,
Mm.
no, I did not. I don't restore books, and I said I would never replace a staple. And they said, well, what did you do? How did you clean them? I said, well, I cleaned them in muriatic acid, and then I rinsed them thoroughly in cold water to stop the burn. And they thought this, and then I rub them out with a cloth. You know what I mean, to give them, instead of being dull, they make them really shiny again. And they thought actually I had replaced the staples, and I didn't. I just treated them with muriatic acid, which is, anybody can buy it. You clean your swimming pools with it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's the same
Um,
as hydrochloric acid. Yeah, I've done that a lot of times too, and it's the same thing. They've said those are replaced, and I said no. Here's a 40
no,
minute long video of me cleaning the staple. It's the
yeah,
same staple. It's not,
I
and they
like the
don't. They said no.
muriatic.
We
I
just can't
don't.
change the standard.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't get a purple label. You know what I'm saying? I got a blue label, but they did question me. Did I replace the staples? You know what I'm saying? And they didn't question me over the phone. They questioned me in my store. They
Oh
wanted to
wow, because you live
see,
in Florida. Yeah.
yeah, they wanted to see exactly what I did. You know what I mean? Because I know a lot of people, like I have a little tray. Don't get me wrong, brother. I got a little tray with the little dividers with a lid, and above each tray is a year and month. I have replacement staples for books, same year, same month, for specific books that I've gotten. The books have had no covers, or they're missing 4 pages, no covers. I just take the staples out, write down the issue, and I put the staples in. And if I get a book that's missing a staple, or the staple is rusty, I'll just take the staple out, find the same month, same year, or possibly even the same book, and I'll marry the staple in. And I've never gotten a blue label, I mean a purple label with that, because I'm using the same staple from the same book. It's
Yeah, I do
just
the
this,
same.
yeah, this
I have a
staple's
stack of
clean.
magnets. I have a pile of magnets, and each magnet is on a sticky note that has a year. I don't have the month but I have the publisher and the year, and I have a magnet. Every time I find a bunch of coverless books, I just harvest the staples and I stick
Yeah,
them on that
that's what
magnet.
I do. I had a guy trade in, like, he didn't trade them in. I bought a collection. There was like 30 or 40 coverless books, but the books that were coverless were garbage. They weren't worth anything. You know what I mean? They were just insignificant books. So I just looked at the year. Then you type in the year and the volume, and you can find the month. Like a lot of your Silver Age, a lot of your Bronze Age books, it'll say, the book came out in 1965 and it came out in October, right?
Yeah.
So you got the year and the month. So you just kill two birds with one stone. And then I just keep the staples flat. Um, the one tool that you have that I wanted was the resizer.
Yeah. Did I not send you one? I'll put it on my
No, the
notes.
staple resizer where you put it in the jig and you flatten it out and it makes it,
Hmm.
it makes it a U again. I wanted that. The only thing I was worried about is that metal?
Yeah, my original staple shaping tool is steel. It's steel. It's hardened steel. It has to be harder than the staple, right?
Yeah,
To be
well, for
effective.
not to scratch. Yeah.
Yeah, but they cost me $316 each to make, so they're really not marketable, you know?
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, that's a little expensive even for me.
Yeah, yeah.
I was gonna try to make one out of wood and burr the wood. Rub it or use like a hardwood like mahogany. You know what I mean? And square it out, but then burr it so it's nice and smooth so it doesn't scratch the staple. You know what I mean? But the tool that I got from you, I can pretty much get the staple in its original squared out U shape pretty damn good.
That's just it. It's you're 90% of the way there with my plastic few dollar tool versus
Yeah.
100% of the way with a $300 tool, right? So that's how I had to make that decision.
Yeah, it was always
Yeah.
harder for me because it was always easy for me to get the staple out with the tools that I use, but it was always a little harder for me to square the staple back out to put it back in easier. Plus, I don't necessarily know if I want the staple to go and be round. I mean, to be squared out, because a lot of those staples, they're not squared out. They're sort of, they're
Tucked in a
round.
little, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know if I necessarily want it squared out. I think I'd like to keep the natural shape of the staple. You know what I mean? And not bend it out as much. Like when you take yours out, I watched your video on it where you bend it all the way up. See, I don't do that. I bend it up a little bit and then I turn it out. You know what I mean? I pull the staple, I pull it down a little bit on the one side, and then I turn it out. And then I go the opposite way and turn the other side of the staple out of the book. I do it very carefully so I don't rip the hole open, but it allows me to sort of keep that round. So when I go to refold them, it's a little easier.
I know just what you mean. I have to actually put mine in a furnace. I have a furnace. I heat them to 550 degrees for, I think, like 90 minutes or 100 minutes. And then I let them go down like a degree a minute to ambient, and they anneal so that they're not brittled from the work hardening, and it's so that all of those have been furnace hardened and stuff. So it's nice. So John, we're out of time here. My broadcast is going to end. Do you have any last statements you want to say to anybody here?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I want to thank you. Your son is a beast. I love your son to death.
He loves you too, man.
I sent him those shirts.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for all your support. I want to thank Jerry the Jitterbug for his support. I thank everyone out there who's got inspired by what I do and by what you do. And just know that I don't hate no one that does this. I don't have a hate bone in my body to say to anyone. And if I could say one thing is that just keep pounding away, doing what you're doing, but always remember patience and always do your due diligence. And I promise you, if you always do those two things, you will never fail. Never fail.
I love you, brother. Take care of yourself, man.
Love you too, man. Everybody take it easy. Go Michigan.
There you go. Take care, man. Good night.
See ya.